Hey, I'm Shane Smith, the owner of Genesis Off-Road, and in this video I'm going to be showing you how to install our dual battery system for the diesel and 392 Wrangler. Now, the installation process on this one is very similar to the diesel Gladiator, but I'm going to show you a few differences. We're going to be putting the dual battery kit under the back seat of the Wrangler, and that's because the diesel and 392 just takes up the entire engine bay. So the days of putting two batteries under the hood of the Wranglers are just over. We're just not going to be able to fit two batteries under the hood. So we're going to use the space under the back seat. I'm going to walk you through it step by step of how to do it on our Genesis JL here. This one has the 3.6 liter engine in it, so we're going to show you everything under the back seat on this one. Then when we switch over to running the wires along the frame and coming up in the engine bay to tie into the cranking battery, we're going to switch over to the footage from our diesel Gladiator video. Okay, let me tell you about battery options for this kit for a minute. There's a few benefits of putting the dual battery system under the back seat. One is you only have to buy one new battery. The second thing is you don't have to throw out your cranking battery under the hood. So as long as the batteries are the same type, most of the diesel and 392 Wranglers come with AGM batteries, which is great. So make sure you get an AGM battery to go under the back seat. Some people have asked us about using lithium with our systems. You can use lithium if you choose to, they just have to match. So the one under the back seat has to be the same type as the one under the hood. Now, we don't recommend using traditional lead acid batteries. If you have a lead acid battery under the hood, that's going to be one where that has the little ports that you can pop off the battery to fill it up with water. You don't want to use that kind under the back seat because you have a risk of spilling. You don't want battery acid in the back seat. So we recommend AGM batteries. They're completely sealed. They're not going to leak. They're not going to give off any fumes. It's safe to use inside the vehicle. Now, as far as sizes goes, there's a wide variety of battery sizes that you can use in this kit. From the smallest physical size is going to be a Group 25 battery, up to the biggest battery that will fit under the seat of the Wrangler is a Group 27F. The difference there is on the diesel Gladiator, we can fit up to a Group 31, which is a little bit bigger battery, but we can't put a Group 31 under the back seat of the Wrangler because of some of the seat brackets. We don't want the battery post bumping the metal seat brackets. So if you want the most power that you can fit in your Wrangler, the Group 27F is the way to go. But for more details about the battery options, check out our website. On the Diesel Wrangler page, there's a tab that says Battery Info. There's a chart there that has all the specs, the dimensions, and the amp hours and cranking amps, all that detail that you need to pick the right battery for you. Okay, so let's get started. We're going to move to the back seat area and we're going to show you step by step how to install this kit. Okay, so let's get started here in the back seat area. Let me show you the components that we're going to be installing today. We've got these new brackets that are going to bolt down through these holes to the factory seat leg bolts on the floor. And this little tab here is going to limit how far down the seat is going to be able to fold so that we don't crush our power hub under the seat. So we've got the new Gen 3 power hub with all of our wire attached. We're going to leave these wires with the zip ties on them for right now. And then over here, we've got another bracket that'll mount under the seat legs over here for our adjustable battery brackets. So these will mount onto that bracket and everything will piece together pretty easily. It's pretty intuitive how this all goes together, but there's several tips I'm going to show you along the way. So stick with us. So let's get started. Okay, let's get started by removing the factory 18mm bolts that hold the seat legs to the floor. Now, the first time you remove these, they're going to be really tight because the factory uses some Loctite on these. So get you a great big ratchet. Now, I've already had mine off a few times, so it's pretty easy for mine. Okay, now we're going to lift the seat up, and I'm going to use a bungee cord that I've got back here on my seat belt, and I'm going to strap this seat up out of my way. All right, now let's start getting some components just kind of in position over here. We'll set this bracket over here. We'll go ahead and put the power hub on top of it. And you could assemble the power hub to this bracket on your workbench if you want to do that ahead of time. Grab the nuts out of our hardware bag. Hold the power hub down to the mounting base, and we can go ahead and secure that with a 10mm. Okay, let's set this out of the way just a little bit, and we're going to go ahead and pull the carpet back and this trim piece that along the doors so that we can route our cable under the carpet. So this is just gonna pop off some little clips. Okay, then we'll pop this little cover off from around the seat belt mount. And then we can wiggle out this plastic piece here. Okay, now we're gonna pull our carpet back a little bit. On this factory carpet, you'll notice it's kind of perforated right down the middle of the seat. And we're gonna just kind of poke our finger through there and route our wires through the carpet. All right, let's go ahead and cut these cables loose. Okay, now to get our power cable under the body and up to the engine bay, we're just gonna go ahead and remove this fuse for the moment and we'll put it back on later. Let's just set this fuse aside. Okay, let's uncoil our long red cable and we're gonna start with pushing this through the carpet. Let's go ahead and pull all this slack through here first and then under the carpet towards the B-pillar. And then we'll do the same thing for the ground cable. We'll route our ground through the carpet and pull that slack through. Now let's go ahead and start moving the power hub back towards our mounting holes. Okay, that's pretty close. We'll go ahead and undo these and we're gonna route these over towards the passenger side. Okay, with the power hub mostly in position, we're just gonna leave this here for the moment while we continue to work on our cables. And then last, we'll come back and put the seat back down. Okay, with our cable routed over here towards the B-pillar, we're gonna take our rubber grommet from the hardware baggie, and this is gonna go right here under the plastic trim that surrounds the seat belt. So we're gonna pick a spot right about here on a nice flat area of the body and center punch and drill a hole to mount our rubber grommet. I like to use a step bit. It just kind of helps keep it nice and easy. We're gonna drill this out to about between 3/4 to 7/8 of an inch to be able to get that grommet in there. Okay, I think we're up to about 13/16 on our step bit. Let's see how that looks. Okay, let's clean up these shavings. All right, then we'll put a little touch-up paint on that bare steel. So let's go ahead and thread our grommet onto our wire. Okay, with the grommet all the way up on the wire, we're just gonna bring this back out of the way for the moment. We're gonna go ahead and route the wire through the body and then we'll come back and put the grommet on later. Okay, with our wire mostly through here, we can pull our carpet back and make sure our wire is tucked under the carpet. Okay, that's good enough for now. After we run the cable up to the engine bay, we'll come back and dress out this grommet. Now for our ground wire, let's dress this. We're gonna use this factory ground point on the body right here. So we're gonna pull this factory nut off with a 10mm and we'll just put our lug right on top of that and put the nut back in place. We'll just put this nut on here loosely for the moment. Now you see we've got a little bit of extra cable on the Diesel Gladiator. This ground cable comes up the door frame, so this cable might be a little bit too long. So just back out. Let's just kind of groom this cable back a little bit. And I'm gonna route some of this excess cable under the carpet right up here. Again, we wanna keep the positive wire away from the seat brackets right here. So this extra ground will just tuck up under the carpet, out of the way. Nothing's gonna be up here touching that anyway. So we'll put our carpet back in place. Okay, with our carpet back in place, now let's go ahead and route the long power cable along the frame rail, up into the engine bay and over to the stock battery for the diesel engine. And we'll show you what that looks like on our Diesel Gladiator. Okay, so now let's lay down under the vehicle and I'll show you how to run the positive cable along the frame rail and up into the engine bay. Okay, so we're coming down right next to this big body mount. So we're gonna go over the top of this body mount, fish our cable along the top of the frame rail, and we're gonna come towards the front and we're gonna go over the frame rail, and the cable will come out right through here, and we're gonna pull our slack all the way out, right through here. Okay, we got all the slack out. Now you see this, this insulated bundle of wires running along the frame rail. We're gonna come back, once we get the wire up in there, up in the engine bay, we're gonna come back and zip tie to this bundle. But let's just get our wire through here first. And we're gonna go through here. Again, we're following this insulated wire bundle, And then now we're gonna turn and go up by the firewall. And let's just push this wire up as high as we can reach. And it's gonna come out close to the brake booster. Okay, now back up top, we're gonna reach our hand down in here next to the fluid reservoir bottle, grab that slack that we pushed up and route it right up through here. Pull all this slack up. And then we're gonna go over the top of this fluid bottle to reach our battery over there. And the reason I'm going over the top of the bottle like this is because I want to keep this wire away from our steering column that's turning. So I'm gonna grab a zip tie here. I'm gonna put a couple of zip ties onto this line right here to keep that securely away from our steering column. And then I'm gonna put another zip tie up top here on this little bracket just to hold that wire in place. Okay, so we're just gonna leave this wire laying over here close to the battery. We're not gonna hook that up yet because we don't want hot power going to the back yet. We'll come back and do that last. Okay, with our cables groomed under the carpet, we're gonna come back and tighten up our ground nut with a 10mm. And let's go ahead and get this grommet in place. We're gonna push the grommet on down towards the hole right here. We're gonna get it started on one side of the grommet, start pushing it into the hole. And then you can reach under the vehicle and kind of pry it from the bottom side to get it all the way in. Okay, with your grommet all the way in there, you can just kind of push this cable down in here so it'll tuck under the plastic trim. Watch out for these little clips here. This is where the plastic piece is going to secure on here and here. And we'll go ahead and grab that trim piece and put that back on. Okay, so we'll put this back in here and route our seat belt. We need to go behind our seat belt cable. All right, then we'll tuck this back under the front piece and snap that together. And then all these panels should clip back in place. And then we'll put our little seatbelt cover back on here. Then we'll put this panel cover back in place here. Okay, with all the trim back in place, now we're gonna move over to the passenger side and I'll show you how to mount the battery. Okay, now we're over on the passenger side. We're gonna do basically the same thing. We're gonna lift up the seat bottom and get our brackets in position and bolt down our brackets. All right, so let's start with removing these seat bolts. Okay, now I'm gonna raise my seat up and I'm gonna hold it up here with a bungee cord. Let's fold these legs out of our way. Okay, now we can start prepping our battery brackets. In here, we'll just start here where we got plenty of room. So I'm gonna show you what this is gonna look like with a couple of different sizes of batteries. So let's start with the smallest battery that'll fit in here, the Group 25. Now the Group 25 battery has the negative on this side and the positive over here. You can also use a Group 35, which is the same size, but the posts are reversed. But if you wanna use a battery with the positive over on this side, we wanna be careful about these metal seat mounting brackets over here. So when we get these batteries in here and we start to slide it under the seat, you want to be real careful about your positive being too close to these metal brackets. So ideally, if you wanted to run a Group 25, you'd be better off running a 35. That puts the positive post over here, more underneath the seat and away from everything. But let's see what that looks like mounted down onto the brackets. We'll just kind of get things moved around here. Let's go ahead and start our brackets. Set that in place on the little studs on the base, and the other one over here. All right, and then we'll set that down on the base. And we'll just push the brackets together, then we'll grab the rest of our hardware out of the hardware baggie, and we'll start securing these brackets. We'll put a couple up top loosely first, and then we're gonna use these side brackets. We're gonna go in this orientation on this stud on the side of the brackets. And we'll just start this nut right here and leave that loose for the moment. I'm gonna attach this side on this side of our brackets and leave that one loose for the moment. And we'll start the nuts for the base. Okay, at this point, we can start to move the whole assembly into position so that the holes in the base bracket line up with the seat mount holes. And we'll start to get our battery in position. And you'll notice you got a little bit of adjustability. I like to slide the battery all the way towards the center personally, and that just gives me a little more room over here by the door for, you know, a little tool bag or some other storage in this pocket over here. Now let me show you what this looks like with the largest battery that'll fit in here, which is the 27F. Okay, so this is the biggest one that'll fit in here. This is a group 27F. This one has the positive towards the center, so it's not gonna be close to these brackets. Now you can also find these in a group 27 without the F on the end, and that one has the post reversed. But I don't recommend using the regular group 27, just because when we lay this in here, that positive post is gonna be so close to these brackets. Now we've got a little insulating cover over our post clamp, but we just wanna be super safe and not short anything out. So that's why I like to use the 27F. So we'll just lay this in position here for the moment, and we'll go ahead and start prepping our brackets. And we'll put the nuts on top loosely for the moment, and our side brackets. Okay, now it may be easiest to go ahead and tighten down our adjustable brackets to the base before we slide everything in here, just so you have access to get to these nuts. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and tighten down the base nuts. Then we can do the top adjuster nuts. And finally, we'll come back with the side ones. We're gonna hold this bracket up, push it all the way against the battery, and then tighten the nut. Okay, if you're running the 27F and you start to get it in position, you may need to adjust the position of the battery on the base just a little bit to clear the seat legs. So I'm gonna move mine over just a little bit more. There we go, now we're clearing the seat bracket a little bit better. Next thing we wanna do is go ahead and hook up our cables to the battery. So I'm gonna slide the battery back out a little bit again to make it easier to get our cables attached. We'll remove our covers. Okay, let's hook up our positive clamp first. We'll move our dust cover back a little bit. And make sure you double check the orientation of your posts. Make sure you know where the positive one's at. On this one, it's right here. We'll attach this post clamp. Make sure your clamp is seated all the way onto the post, and then tighten that down with a 1/2 inch. Okay, now for the ground clamp, make sure you got it turned the right way. The inside of the clamp is tapered. So we'll put this onto our ground post. And I can see right away that the clamp is not seating all the way down on the post. I'm gonna loosen up this nut here, and I wanna tap this clamp all the way down to the bottom of the post. There we go, and then tighten that up with a 1/2 inch. Okay, now we can get our battery in position and go ahead and put our seat legs back in place. Okay, with the cables attached, let's go ahead and slide the back brackets back in place, and we can disconnect our bungee. Go ahead and bring our seat down and get our bolts back in place. Push my battery backwards a little bit to get the holes lined up. And then we'll tighten that down with our 18mm. All right, we'll go around to the driver's side and do the same thing. We'll disconnect our bungee, lay our seat back down, don't pinch our wires, and we'll get our bolts back in. Okay, everything's mounted in place. A couple things to just watch for. Check your power cable. You can see on mine, it's plenty far enough away from this middle bracket, so that should not be rubbing anything at all. If yours should not be close to that bracket, but if it is, if you wanna be a little extra careful, wrap a little electrical tape around there, that's fine. Okay, that's everything all done under the back seat. Next thing we need to do is take our 600 amp fuse and put that back onto the cable under the hood and attach our power lead to the cranking battery. Okay, now back under the hood, we're gonna go ahead and reattach our high amp fuse onto the end of our wire. Just take that nut off and put that back on there. And then we're gonna pull our little cover back. We're gonna remove this nut off the post clamp with a 12mm. And the new fuse is gonna go right onto that stud and put the nut right back on there. Also, let's make sure this nut is nice and tight with a 13mm. Now, if you'd like to take a razor blade and slice this little factory post clamp cover right here so that you can groom that cover back into place, you can do that. Okay, let's come back and just run a few zip ties to secure our wire to that factory bundle. And I've got the wire tucked back behind there. It's actually on top of this and on top of the frame. And last, we're just gonna secure this cable in place with our last zip tie. Okay, so that's all under the hood. This should be your last connection that you make because we don't want that wire being hot under the back seat. And now that everything's done, let's go back here and we'll kind of wrap up. Okay, so the installation is all done. Let me show you, we have had a bunch of questions about how far we can lay the seats down. Now, obviously with electronics under here, the seat's not gonna be able to go all the way down, but I did want to preserve some of that ability. And the bracket, you will notice the seat is gonna catch on that little bracket next to the power hub, and that's gonna limit how far the seat can go down. Now, that's just a little safety limiter, okay? Don't slam your seat forward, you don't wanna bend it, okay? But you'll still be able to reach in here and access your fridge. I've got my Dometic fridge back here. If you got some, coats and toys and baby gear and camping equipment, you can still reach into the back cargo area. Now, on the passenger side, that battery is taking up every bit of the space, so you're not gonna be able to lean that seat down. That's just a trade-off we have to make. Okay, so that's it. We're all done with the installation. So now you've got the dual battery kit under the back seat. So all your accessories, you're gonna route under the carpet to the bus bars. You'll lift up the little cover on the power hub to connect your accessories to the bus bars. So all of your aftermarket accessories that you wire up here will run from that accessory battery and won't drain down your cranking battery. Now, if your cranking battery were to get drained down for whatever reason and you can't start the engine, if you're sitting in the driver's seat, you can just reach back under the seat, press the manual switch here, flip that to the on position, and that will jump start you from the power in the second battery. Now you can also flip that switch the other direction to the off position, and that will leave the batteries manually separated. And that's if you wanted to make sure that the batteries did not connect together. Some people want to have that capability. If you need that, you can leave the batteries separated. Just remember, the engine will not be charging your accessory battery while the switch is in that off position. Also, if you have our G-screen monitoring system, that's gonna plug into the back. You can route that under the carpet, up the A-pillar, and install the G-screen real easily. All right, that's it for our dual battery system installation in the Diesel and 392 Wrangler. Hey, I hope that video helped you out. If it was helpful to you, please hit the subscribe button and like this video. That really does help us out. If you have any questions, please leave us a comment in the comment section down below or send us an email. And remember, it all starts with power.